Never mind. Meeting is now streaming live. Well, here goes nothing. It's either going to be a crashing success or a resounding failure. Okay, so now we are live. We are going to go view live stream on YouTube, which is great. All right, and the chat does automatically appear. I have the volume off as far as I know. Let's see if I turn it on. Okay, so now good. All right. Right, so we've got another minute. All right. And we'll be able to see the chat here if there's any. All right. And oh, right. Say something. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the session on feedback and how it can boost faster improvement in your OET writing task. Okay. All right. So, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm here with one of my students. We'll call him Junior. Hi, Junior. How you doing?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good. And you have woken up at the crack of dawn.
Yeah, that's very good.
Okay. Well, as everyone can see, the topic today is going to be on feedback and how it can really help you improve. So a lot of people, you write your task, you submit your task, you get your feedback, and everybody zooms in on the on your grade and how much red is in your letter. But actually, you need to be focusing on the feedback, because the feedback is where you are going to learn not just where you went wrong, but why. Okay. So your feedback is going to have not just the corrections, but tips on, okay, why is this wrong? How do you correct it? If there are alternative ways that you can say it. So today we are going to look at a letter that Junior has written, and we are going to go through it together, and I'm actually going to do the corrections live right here, right now. Okay, so give me a minute while I set up the screen share. Right, and we are going to, oh, let me get the right. So first we're going to look at, I'll just give you a quick glimpse of the letter. Some of you who are very familiar with OET materials will probably know this letter already. This one is, so today, yes, of course, we're doing nursing. So this one is Mr. Peter Dunbar. And what I like to do is scroll right to the bottom first and check out what's going on, a quick synopsis of the situation. So this guy is moving to Centerville to live with his daughter and her husband. We see what the daughter will be doing, advising the patient resistant to dietary alterations. So we've got a patient here who's clearly non-compliant already. Continues to require monitoring, and you're writing to transfer this patient to community health nurse, where the patient is moving and he'll be living with his daughter. So what does the writing task say? Using the information given in the case notes, write a letter to the community health nurse in Centerville outlining the patient's history and requesting ongoing monitoring. So in this case, you're writing a letter to give the reader as much of the most important and most relevant information about this patient, because this person is going to be taking over care. Okay, they're not going to be just dealing with one issue and sending the patient back to you. They're going to be taking over care. All right, and who to address the letter to. And then, of course, as usual, we go back up to the top. So I'll move the screen very slowly so that anyone watching can very quickly scan. All right, so we have his current medications. We have his history starting from September 2017. At that time, as you see, his wife was alive. And in 2017, December, a few months later, unfortunately, she passed away, and he didn't take it very well. And his medication and diet started to go off track. He was prescribed medication, but not the best compliance. Then he was hospitalized with a myocardial infarction. So he had a heart attack, poor thing. And he was given additional treatment for high blood pressure and for his heart attack, as well for his arrhythmia, sotalol, and the warfarin blood thinners. He was attending clinic, and we see here by October the next year, he's deteriorating. He's now got diabetic neuropathy, mobility poor, still non-compliant. His diet's not the best, so they're helping him out with a community meal service, but he's getting complications, as you see here. Okay, amoxicillin, he's on antibiotics, therefore, for chest infection. And that brings us right back then to where we were before. Okay, his condition now, needing to live with his sister, which means moving house, which means the reader of your letter needs a quick synopsis of all the main issues with him. Okay, so on that score, let's now move on to our letter here. Okay, so what I like to do when I'm giving feedback is at the very top, I do the strengths. I call them strengths. Okay, what is good? What the oops, my spelling is off. And because those are the points that I want my students to, okay, you're doing these correctly, keep doing them. And then I put areas for improvement. And these are going to be the points that I want them to work on, okay? And then around here, I will put an estimated grade. And this is a quick correction. There's another kind of correction that we do where it is they get the number as well as the letter grade, but we'll come back to that later. And then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to read the letter as it is without making any corrections yet.
Okay.
All right. So how long did this letter take you to write, Junior?
This letter takes me to write about 39 minutes.
About 39 minutes.
39 minutes, yeah.
And this is 39 minutes of the 45, or you took 5 minutes to read it, and then you gave yourself the 40 minutes to write?
I always take the 5 minutes before to me familiarize with the letter.
Okay.
And then after the 5 minutes, I start to set a plan. Which will be first and which will be in the middle and how I'm gonna end the letter.
Good.
So I always follow the 5 minutes.
Good. All right. So you managed to finish on time. Okay. Before we go on, yeah, we see some people have joined us. Good morning. Sharika, good morning from Dubai. Pleased to meet you, Miracle. Thanks for being here. Biji as well. Yeah, Glad to have you joining us. If you've got questions as we go through, you can also write them in the chat and I will answer them. So about this letter or maybe about any writing. So just let me know, write it in the chat and we'll be good to go. All right, so getting back to the letter then. Right, so we look at how it's formatted. And we see that Junior has followed the formatting guidelines. He's got his address of the reader, the date, dear sir, madam, which is the formal address. He's got the patient. He has written on every line within a paragraph. He's left a clear space between paragraphs, and he's finished with a nice formal valediction, yours sincerely, which is all well and good. So now let's read content, the body of the letter, which is what you really get your marks for. Thank you for taking care for Mr. Dunbar, which will be transferred to your area to be assisted for his daughter. Nevertheless, he requires your professional assessment and ongoing management. Mr. Dunbar have been suffering from diabetes since 2016 and had an episode of myocardial infarction in 2018. His current medication includes metformin 500, ramipril 5, warfarin, and sotalol daily. He has not been compliant with medication and shows reluctant to follow medical advice. A patient education and monitoring for his medication intake would benefit him. He has restricted movement due to his poor exercise tolerance and refuses following a dietary plan. A physiotherapy and dietitian would help him to improve his lifestyle since Mr. Dunbar lost his wife. He shows signs of depression and lack of motivation. I believe he needs your further comprehensive care and management. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. Okay? So just looking at this alone, even before I start the correction, I am going to say that your strengths are, of course, formatting your letter. You're good at being concise. Okay.
Okay.
And you are good at organizing the important information logically, both between the paragraphs and within the paragraphs. So what I mean by that is that you, oops, and my spelling is off, so let me go back there. I type fast sometimes, and I have to look at the keyboard.
Oh, that's normal.
and you'll also see a red in some of my spelling, and this is because I use British spelling
Okay.
on an American system. So for the Americans, organizing is spelled with a Z. I spell with an S. They're both correct. I just use the British spelling. It's a habit. I'm not changing now. And there it is.
That's okay. It's the same on me.
So there you go. Yeah. Okay. So areas for improvement, which we will focus most of our corrections on today, is grammar.
Yeah.
I'll be explaining a lot of grammar, because your grammar, I notice, is mostly, for example, your pronouns, as well as what we call word families.
Okay.
Which is, do we need the noun? Do we need the adjective? Do we need the, okay? So that's what we're going to focus mostly on. Okay, so coming down, what I do here then is now I turn on my review and let's start correcting. So, thank you for taking care. Is that correct?
No.
What is it supposed to be?
To. Take care to.
You sure?
I don't know.
Taking care of.
Take care of. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now, and a good tip to do in English, we have these things called phrasal verbs.
Okay.
They are verbs that go with prepositions. And unfortunately, there is no pattern. And what you should do is when you're learning the verb, immediately learn the preposition that goes with
All
it.
right.
Okay. So take care of. Can you say that? Take care of.
Take care of.
Good. Again?
Take care of.
Good. It all goes together. Okay.
Mhm.
Take care of.
Oh.
All right. And I tend to put a heading here for two reasons. One, at a glance, it allows both me correcting and the students to see, oh, most of my errors are grammar errors, or most of my errors are organization errors. It helps me when I'm marking as well. And also these areas that I put here also reflect the OET writing criteria. So you see which criteria, under which criteria you're losing the most marks.
All right.
Yeah. So who is being transferred? All right, we've got people already corrected. You are correct. Who?
Thank you so much, Sirinka Manu.
Yeah. Who will be transferred, not which. Okay, so this comes under now.
Who will be transferred?
Yeah. This comes under grammar because we use who is, oops.
For persons, yeah.
And what do we use for, and we use which?
For things.
And that for things. Okay. Now sometimes, oh yeah, sometimes you can also use that for people as well. Also for people as well in some circumstances. And then I tell you what this is about. This is about your relative pronouns and relative and clauses. Okay. So why that also, how that also helps is if I give you a topic here, you now know, oh yeah, I have to go back and revise that topic because Alicia made that comment several times. So she wants me to correct it. All right. Thank you for who's being transferred to your facility. Who will be transferred or will be transferred is also okay. To your area, to be assisted. Let's look. Is that right?
To be assisted.
To be assisted for?
His daughter. To be assisted of his daughter.
By.
By.
Okay.
Oh
so
God.
This now, yeah. Grammar, English grammar, you really do need to, yeah. So grammar here, and this, if you're looking for a topic to do some exercises, it's called prepositions after verbs. If you Google that, you'll find those exercises. And again, this is another collocation. Say say assisted by. Say assisted by, Junior.
To be assisted by his daughter. Assisted by.
Good. Assisted by, assisted by, assisted by.
Assisted by, yeah.
Nevertheless, he requires your professional, yeah. I'll just, not because it's wrong, but I kind of like that also, in other words.
Okay.
He also requires your professional assessment and ongoing management. Now here actually, who is being transferred requires, okay? So here actually, you can also, I would say when it comes to purpose and what to call it, prioritization, I would actually also include his main issues here. Because you want your reader, who is the nurse, to immediately understand what his main issues are. And what are his main issues?
His non-compliance with medication.
Yeah. For well, he's diabetic, for diabetes,
Diabetes.
hypertension,
Mhm.
and well, management requires your professional assessment and ongoing management for diabetes and hypertension. He also has recurrent issues with non-compliance. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So remember, when you're thinking about purpose, you want who this patient is, why the reader, what the reader is being called to do.
And what need to be start immediately.
Yeah, and what are his main issues, okay? So for this, then I will make a little note here that says purpose, prioritization, okay, and important information. And I would say let the reader know immediately what the most urgent issues are. Okay?
Okay.
All right. You don't have to go into detail. You just outline them. Okay?
All right.
So let's keep going. Mr. Dunbar have been suffering. Is it have?
No.
What is it?
Has.
Has. Well, if you knew, why didn't you write it? Mr. Dunbar. This is why proofreading is important. This is why proofreading is important, okay?
Yeah.
Because even, yeah, even when I'm writing English is my native language, writing quickly, see, I make mistakes. So you need to hone your time. And you know that I always teach you, hone your time so you have like about 2-3 minutes left at the end to go through your mistake. Has Biji, even Biji picked it up. Thank you, Biji. Yeah. So Dunbar has been suffering from diabetes since 2016 and had an episode of myocardial infarction in 2018. Just a little space there, doesn't matter. Current medication.
His current medication.
So basically what you're telling me is you're picking up all of your errors and you did not proofread. Yeah. So you know what I say?
That's my problem. Because of the time pressure. And when I finish the letter, I don't read. I don't use the 3 minutes to check my letter.
Yeah.
So,
and you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. Okay. All right. So his current medication. So as a matter of fact, what I would do is I would actually go back up here and I would make a point of adding, okay, leave time during the 40 minutes to proofread. Okay?
Proofread. Yeah.
To avoid losing marks for repeated grammar or spelling errors. Okay? And I usually also underline that so you get the point. Yeah? Okay. Because the thing about it is you are correcting yourself as we are talking, which means you now recognize the mistakes you're making. Which means you didn't need to make those mistakes and lose those marks. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. So his current medication includes metformin, ramipril, just put a little space between here, warfarin, and sotalol daily. He has not, and look, you got it right here. He has not been compliant with medication and shows, now let's talk about word families. He shows reluctant. Oh, his current medications include, yes, Sherika. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name incorrectly. Yeah, you can say his current medications include, you can also say his current medication. Medication is what we call a collective noun.
Okay.
So
both can I use with S or without? Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of like treatment. It's kind of like treatment. Okay, my treatment includes blah, 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 blah. it's a collective noun. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's get back then talking about he shows reluctant.
I don't know. How can I correct?
Okay. Now reluctant is the adjective.
Okay.
What is the noun from reluctant?
Mm,
Not sure?
not sure.
Reluctant. Oops, sorry.
Reluctance. Oh yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Let me put back on the review, the track changes. Sorry, right. Reluctant.
When the patient has too much medications on the letter,
Mhm.
shall we include everything or the most important? Like,
That's a good question. If he's on routine medication, for example, he takes Panadol occasionally for aches and pains, or he takes, I don't know, something. The occasional, well, at his age, he shouldn't be taking sleeping pills wantonly, but something like that. You can just mention it's the only other medication he takes.
okay,
If there was medication he was on in the past that he is no longer on,
mhm,
most of the time you can leave that out.
okay,
But medication he's on now, especially medication that is related to his important diagnoses. And for him, it is hypertension, diabetes, and a past heart attack. Those you give in detail. And you also, what you should have mentioned here, I cannot remember if it was in the case notes, if they tell you how often the
okay,
medication
yeah,
is given, also enter that. Because remember, the reader is taking over care. So the reader needs to know not only how much the patient is on, but how often he's supposed to be taking it.
mhm,
Okay. So actually, if I wanted to, I can put here frequency. Okay. I can't remember the letter. The details of the letter.
yeah. They said here TDS, metformin,
Yeah.
and ramipril daily.
Yeah. Those. All right. Because this person is taking over care, if it's mentioned at all, put it down.
Mhm,
Okay. Dose and frequency. Oops. Because imagine if this really were your patient in real life, you knowing that they're on sotalol doesn't really help you. You want to know how much are they on and how often are they supposed to be taking it.
yeah, yeah.
Right. So reluctance. So what I would do here then is go, this is important information. Okay. And this is one of the criteria. Is all the important information included? Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. The reader is taking over care completely. Okay. They need to know not only the medication, but also dose and frequency. All right, details. All right. So he has not been compliant with medication and shows reluctance to follow advice. A patient education.
mhm.
What's wrong with this? Do you need the A here?
No, I do not.
No, you don't. Because patient education is kind of like a broad, it's like a topic.
Okay,
You wouldn't say, okay, I do the math in class. You would say, I do the math at school. You would say, I do math at school. It's a big topic, right? So you just put patient education, no article needed. Okay?
okay.
Patient education and monitoring of his
Oh,
medication. Okay? Because this is a patient education is a noun, and this needs to be a noun as well. So monitoring his medication is actually a verb form. What is he doing? He is monitoring medication. That's a verb form. But you need the noun form because you've got a noun and a noun linked in a sentence. Yeah. So
okay.
monitoring of medication is kind of like a topic as well. And that's why. Okay. Would monitoring of his medication intake would benefit him. He has
restrict, not a no
exactly.
noun.
Yeah. He has restricted movement due to his poor exercise tolerance and refuses to follow.
To follow.
Yeah. Now, this is a topic that drives many learners mad.
Okay.
And it's this. Is it verb plus infinitive or verb plus gerund? All right. There are some verbs in English that you always, if you're using another verb after them, you use the infinitive form. I want to go. I want to eat. He wants to move. There are other verbs. He refuses to follow.
Okay.
There are other verbs that if a verb is coming after them, it has to be in the ing form. Okay?
All right.
There are tons of them. For example, well, I would say he refuses, but refuses takes both. No, refuses too. I can't think of them right now. There are tons of them. But if you go on the internet and you look up verb plus infinitive and verb plus gerund, you will see there is actually a set list. Which verbs take gerund, which verbs take infinitive. And I hate to tell you this, but there's no pattern. You just have to learn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I regret coming here, as opposed to I regret to come here. No, I regret coming here. That's one that takes the
Coming here,
okay. So in this case, refuses takes the infinitive. If physiotherapy, I'm not going to say anything, I'm just going to highlight it.
yeah. I love a.
Yeah, clearly, you get it. So, but here's the thing. Let's look now. Physiotherapy. Is physiotherapy a person or a process?
A process.
Is dietitian a person or a process?
A person.
So you got a process and a person linked in one sentence, listed in a sentence. We need both of them in the same form. Okay. So you need, for example, you can say, let's stick with the physiotherapy. You can say physiotherapy and dietary advice.
Okay.
Oops. That's advice with a C, the noun. Okay. To follow process exactly in person. Thank you, Biji. Biji's on fire today.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Dietary advice would help him to improve his lifestyle. Since Mr. Dunbar lost his wife, he shows signs of depression and a lack of motivation. In this case, you need
when I need to use the A, I don't put it.
Yeah, you have it Anders you have it the other way around. I believe he needs your comprehensive care and management with the above issues. Yeah, just to round it off. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I actually, with respect to the organization and how you prioritize and how your information flows, it actually is good. Yeah.
Okay.
With respect to your grammar, you see that you've got some grammar work to do.
Yeah.
And remember, important twice with the important information here. With your purpose, give the highlights of what his issues are. So that picture real early is in the reader's head. And when you're talking about your medication, if the reader has to be taking over care, yeah, they need details. They're going to need details. Yeah. Okay. And then, yes, if you are listing words or listing items in a sentence, the grammar of the items has to be the same. So if you're using nouns, it has to be all nouns. If you're using concrete nouns, it's got to be all concrete nouns. If you're using adjectives, it's got to be all adjectives, and so on. Otherwise, you have to break up the sentence.
If I want to include example here, physiotherapy, person example, a professional
Yeah.
physiotherapy and a professional dietitian, how can I put that?
Okay, so let's put that in. Yeah, okay. So let's put here grammar. If you are listing items in a sentence, the grammar of the items should be similar. So you have two choices here. One is as corrected, and two could be, so we're going with the person now. You can go physiotherapist.
Okay.
Consultation and dietitian intervention, or something like, oops, there goes my spelling. Dietitian intervention would likely help to, help him to improve his lifestyle. Okay. Proofread your letter. Best of luck. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So yeah, but you're right, Biji. It does bring home how important taking that extra 2-3 minutes. So you know that I guide students, try to write your letter in 37 minutes. So in fact, you've got about 2-3 minutes to pick up the errors that you yourself picks up. Okay. So if you have any queries, do not hesitate to contact me. Now, if it weren't for those grammar issues, you actually probably could have pulled in B, because as I said, the rest of the letter, well, and the omission of detail, the rest of the letter was actually quite well conceived and organized. But for this, unfortunately, I probably would be giving you like maybe a low C+.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which will be 300.
Yeah, you're looking at about maybe a 300 to a 320. Okay. I would have given you, someone else may have given you something else. So say maybe 300 to 320. To know exactly what I would have given you, then I would actually go take our transcript that we use and go by criterion and
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So he has restricted movements due to poor exercise, for which he requires physiotherapy services to improve his mobility. Sharika, that is a nice sentence. Thank you. Sharika also shared a nice alternative.
Very good.
Yeah. He has restricted movement due to poor exercise, for which he requires physiotherapy services to improve his mobility. Thank you. All right. So that's it for today. Thank you very much, Junior.
Thank you so much, Alicia. And thank you guys all for the feedback. I will work hard on this.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, guys. That's it for my 30-minute classroom today. I will see you again next week with another 30-minute classroom, next week, Saturday morning. Bye for now.